We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast, going through the white paper series. And so hopefully you're internalizing each one of these white papers because they do build on one another. And so, if you don't understand, WIFM, consistent, committed, D&D, and clear communication, if you don't understand these four, when you get to self-vaporization, you're not going to have. It's not exactly like multiplication and division, but it's kind of like it. Like if you don't know how to do addition and subtraction, you're going to have a hard time. You're not going to be able to do multiplication and division. And so now we're into section 2. And so, on biggest challenge to income, find out who's the expert in your community on that one and go through that. Now, owning a job or owning a company, not a job, that's the essence of every business owner. Every business owner goes into their own company thinking, I want to own my own company. I don't want to own a job. That's the thing that kept me working hard, working long hours, not making much money, losing money, making the sacrifices I make, because I don't want to go back to a job. I had a job in high school. So I had a job like 34 years ago, 40 years ago. Yeah, I had a job 44 years ago. I haven't had a job since then. But man, it created a lot of trauma in my life. Wow. Got to go in at certain times. You got to do certain things. You got to put up with stupid things like, Urgh. So owning a company, not a job. And so most business owners, they don't own a company, they own a job. And so this white paper is just absolutely crazy cool. Carol, what do you come up with on this white paper?
What did I come up with? Actually a lot. There's some that I don't know, I call them rabbit holes that go off on some of these papers. And well, first of all, I really, really want to learn how to understand personalities,
Got it.
like internalize them so that I can know somebody's personality, like when I meet them. Does that make sense?
Does. Are you familiar with the concept in lacrosse? Are you familiar with the game of lacrosse?
No.
So it's where they have little sticks with little nets on the end, and then they take up the ball and they throw it to one another. So it's an interesting sport. And so they call it balls against the walls. And so what you do is you practice your stick and your ball. You have a stick and a ball, and you practice throwing the ball against the wall. It's over and over again and again, over and over again and again, over and over again and again. It's what Mary Jo and Marla are doing and making, 20 to 30 phone calls a day.
Okay.
So it's balls against the walls. It's just a lot of repetition when you're doing over and over again and again, and so, but you could do just one person. You could say, I'm going to talk to one person on the phone or in person. You could say, hey, I'm part of a mastermind group of people, and working with business owners. And so I talk to one new business owner a day, and I, get to know them, their business, and their personality. You have just a couple minutes. And if you did that every single day and you managed up and out on that, you would grow your business, your legacy partner business, the experiences that you would gain, you'd start to build reflexes. If you're doing it here and there and here and there, you'd probably never really get all that good at it. But if you're doing one a day consistently, you're going to get really good at it. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Nice. What else?
Um, that one, it was on page 11. For the career success program, the teacher, I clicked on that, so I want to go back sometime today and listen to that. I forget her name, Jennifer something. Anyway,
Yeah, Jennifer Tibbs.
because by the time I got to it, I didn't have enough time. I saw that the video was 27 minutes, so knew I didn't have enough time to watch the whole thing. But yeah, that intrigued me on, I want to know what she did with her classroom.
Right?
So,
That story is crazy cool. Anything else about the white paper, Cheryl?
um, I like the warm belly rub story, which
Right?
you've told us that before, but reading it, I don't know, it made me smile because
Right.
it is true. It is true. I don't know.
There's
When you
so
make,
many things. There's so many things about kids raising children
Mhm.
that can make you an amazing, business person. We were having our Friday meeting yesterday, and I don't know, there were 8 of us here or something like that. And Elaine was communicating her frustration in directing her children to go. And she said one of her children, she gave her instructions to go ahead and, sweep the floor. And, I mean, this particular child was 10 years old, which you'd think, hey, a 10-year-old probably should know this. There's, but this child swept a 5 by 5 floor. Why not the whole thing? Why not pick up the rug? Why not go underneath stuff, pull stuff? Why are you doing the minimum? Why are you just doing that? And people go, oh, yeah, that's kind of, but adults don't realize they're just like that. They are just like that 10-year-old, and they're not 10 years old. Like, it's weird on how we as adults criticize children or especially teenagers, and we don't even realize we're no better than they are. We just get more proficient at hiding it than they do.
Right.
Excellent. Anything else that you have?
No, I don't think so.
It's interesting. Years ago, we were in a mastermind group and we were talking about, when did you go ahead and try to get your business to run without you? Like, when did you put systems in place, people in place to get your business to run without you? And some said, 20 years into my business, some said 10 years, some said 15. And so it came around the room and finally ended up on me. And Mark, when did you? I said, day one. They're like, really? I'm like, oh, yeah. Because I have so much more to do in my life other than run a business. And I'm glad. I mean, I started my own companies when I was in really grade school, and then middle school, and then high school, and then college. So I had, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9 businesses before, I got out of college. And so when you look at this, it's like, business owners like Mary Jo and I were working with on a project for CPAs, and they're burned out. And so why does a business owner get burned out? This is why, in the future, Cheryl, you're going to have a hard decision to make.
Why is that?
Um, you mean, what is that hard decision
What?
you're going to have to make?
Well, what and why, I guess. What?
So what's the hard decision? Are you going to do taxes, or are you going to do, business coaching?
Right.
So, you'll be able to make a lot more money doing business coaching than taxes. But you've
Right.
put so much time into the taxes and you kind of enjoy them. The taxes don't talk back to you. They don't give you any lip. I
Yep.
mean, they're the owners of the taxes. Yeah, they'll give you a lip. But, the taxes is just my uncle, he owns his own lawn mowing service. He said, man, I love being out just mowing lawns. He said, none of the grass talks back to me. I'm like, right, like, right. And so what is you're gonna like when you like your parents went ahead and owned their own company and it was hard.
Yep.
Like, so you have an advantage over almost everybody else out there because you actually had empathy for your parents. Most kids don't.
Why
So
not?
that's another story for another time.
Okay. Anyway,
Yeah, that's a great rabbit hole. I'd love to go down that. You know, I mean, I had empathy for my parents. I was at college dating my wife, and my parents went ahead and called and said, um, the Marshall family is leaving the church. So I'm 18 years old, and my parents go ahead and call and say, hey, the Marshalls are leaving the church. And the Marshalls had been there for years. They were one of the founding families. They did a whole bunch of work and gave a lot of money. I don't know how I knew that. I just did. So I knew that that would put a lot of extra stress and pressure. So I'm 18 years old. And so, I have compassion for my parents. Like, that's got to be hard. Like, it's a lot of pressure for them to do the work and the money. And that's going to create a lot of stuff, you know. So, what did I do after 1 year of Bible college that my parents said I had to go through, which I was fine with because my goal was to find a wife, and I did. I achieved that goal. And I came back, and then for um, 22 years, I worked in that church and gave a lot of money until I was kicked out of the church. But I came back in large part because I had empathy for my parents. But you'd expect nothing less from a little boy who was 9 years old and gave his mom sour cream and onion potato chips because she liked it. Like, I was just one of those boys that had this big heart. And so you're not using the big heart, Cheryl, in as a legacy partner. What do you mean, Mark? Thanks for
yeah.
asking. Yeah. I can have a conversation with myself. It's fine. I know what's going on in your subconscious. Um, because you have a heart you shared with me. Like, you're probably thinking, does this guy have a photographic auditory memory? Like,
Right.
how does he remember that conversation he had with me a year, 2 years ago about my family and how it was hard for my family? Like, how does he remember? Because it's a significant conversation. You were a girl, you know, and you were a girl and you had compassion for your parents. And that's when I went ahead and connected with you very deeply. I'm like, whoa, most kids, like, I don't know, my kids, I don't know that they went ahead and saw. Maybe I was just better at covering it up than your parents. I don't know. Or maybe you're just a lot more sensitive than I am. I don't, or than my kids are. I don't know. But you touched my heart. I said, here's a little girl who went ahead and understood how hard it is. And I said, she is going to make a great legacy partner because she's going to know how hard a business owner works.
I don't even remember what I said about that, Mark. How do
Right.
you?
Because it's significant.
Okay.
Not not many kids, like I have 7 kids and they're all wonderful kids, but I don't know that they've ever said, like, my dad went through hell and back. Like, that guy worked so hard, made so many sacrifices, and the guy was always there for us. We don't even know how. How do you be there when you're working 110-hour weeks? Like, he came home and started working from the home and put his whole business at risk, almost lost his business because he came home to work from the home. Like, nobody realizes that about me. Like, no, and it's fine. It's okay. And so you have a heart for business owners. You know what they go through. You've seen it as a little girl. So you're not using that and calling people and connecting with people. Like, you're just not, which is okay. It's just, it would just, you'd help a lot more business owners. Like, if you went to that little girl again, if you were that little girl and you made calls, you know, somebody hang up on you, you'll call them back and say, "What are you doing hanging up on me?" When I was 7 years old, I mean, I saw what my parents went through and own another company. It's brutal. Your kids may be seeing what I see. I might be able to help you in ways that nobody was there to help my parents. Like, don't hang up on me, you goofball. Listen to what I have to say. You have the spice, the sass to do that. Not many people do. You just got to get in touch with your little girl that you had compassion to your parents and said, wow, that's hard work. What my parents are doing is hard.
Yeah.
And so here you have, all the different aspects of this. This is decades, hundreds of thousands of hours of experience being condensed down into this here. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
I had a question on that.
Yeah,
Did you do all this?
I did.
Did you make all this stuff?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
it all comes from pain. I'm
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah, I
Like this
believe that.
next dimension principle, this comes from doing a 30-minute strategy session. And the guy said he was coachable at a 9, but I knew he was coachable at a 2.
Hmm.
And I'm like, he says he's a 9, but he's a 2. He wouldn't listen to me. Like, it's just, I don't want to coach the guy. I don't even talk to the guy. The guy's just not, he's so delusional. And after I got off, I thought, well, what if he's right? I'm like, he can't be. He can't be right. Well, what if he is, Mark? Take your mind to a place. Okay, so he's right. He is at a 9. Well, what if you're right and it's a 2? What if you're both right? And that's how I came up with the next dimension principle. And then I went ahead and, flesh these out, the different levels in a dimension. When Jonathan and Melissa left the home at 18, 19 years old. And I'm like, they're both really interested in their father's feedback. That's weird. Like, Melissa's like, Dad, I got 4 jobs. I think she wanted me to praise her and tell her how amazing she was. I think she wanted me to be a cheerleader to her, not a driver. And so these things have been developed over decades. Like this stuff here, long term, short term, and all of that. Like that took over 20 years to figure it out, and I figured it out 20 years ago. Like these are
Hmm.
not things that these are none of these things. Almost, I would say it'd be fair to say not one, there's not one thing in this white paper that was taught in my bachelor's degree, my 3 degrees in business in college. Not one. These are all things that I had to learn the hard way. Like this book, like this here, Good to Great. This one quote, it's insane. It is absolutely insane. It's crazy. And all of these types of things, like this is stuff I learned with my kids when they were small and they'd give up and they'd quit. I'm like, come on, guys. You go over the wall, under the wall, you go to left, you go to right, you blow it up, you tear it down somehow, some way, we're going to make a breakthrough. You don't quit. You're a Boersma. You don't give up. Like this is stuff that I discovered and gave to my kids as gifts. And so a lot of this stuff, it's not just for business, it's for my children. It's like, this is how you guys need to think. You want to be successful in life, you need to think this way. Like, this stuff is magical, absolutely magical on what's in here. This thing will transform a business. If somebody really understands it, and so you guys making calls and somebody says, they're a business owner and their biggest challenge, have them go through and say, read this white paper. And then after you read it, go through and watch this podcast with this guy. Because he has a heart for business owners. He doesn't want you as a business owner to have to pay the price he paid and have to work as hard as he's worked and have to learn as much as he's learned. He doesn't want that. So if you have any questions on anything that we covered today, a lot of great stuff in here for sure. Connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300. Outside the US 630-393-9909. And for sure, if you're a business owner, you haven't done a business x-ray, do a business x-ray. Be the best investment you can make into your business. It's unbelievable. And it's only $285. And so you can't go wrong. I'm just telling you, do that. That will help you more than anything. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye.
I have one more question, Mark.